I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
We're about to put the new oil cooler in. I'm gonna show you the new oil cooler. If you look at it, it comes with all these new plugs, your sensor, temperature sensor, and it also have all new seals, brand new seals. You need to check those before you put it in. It's got full seals. All right, we're about to put it in, and also make sure you got a filter in here. If you don't, you're gonna have to take your filter out of the old one. All right. Okay, you see this hose? We're about to put this hose right here on the back of this. You got to hook this up first before you get this in. You put that on, and then you get a pliers, and you go on this clamp. Okay. Excuse the noise in the back, man. I'm in some appointments, and these guys out here cutting the yard. We're about to plug these back in. This one go up top. You plug that in, and when you plug it in, you push this down to lock it in. Also, you plug this one in also. Boom. That's it. We're about to install. And then it's a clip right here on the side. You push that clip in right here. See this clip? You push it in, and now it's locked in. So now we're about to install your oil cooler. You remember in my earlier video, I told y'all you must clean these spots. You see these spots right here? That's chrome. This one, that one, and that one. Go ahead and clean them off with some brake part cleaner and a rag. If you got a little rubber sticking in here, just get some Scotch-Brite and clean it off. But make sure you don't have nothing to drop in there. And when you're putting this old cooler back in, you see this? Make sure that it's pushed in. That's that. See this piece? Make sure that push in that hole. All right? Right there. You need to make sure that goes in when you're putting this in. So let me see if you can see when it goes in. I'm trying to hold the camera and show you at the same time. Boom, it went in. You will know when it's seated because you will hear it. This is something that I want to show you. As you can see, I got numbers on these, on this old cooler. That is the way that you tighten those bolts and torque them. See that? It goes in sequence. I will tell you what sequence it go into, but I'm just showing you this so you could take a picture, or you can go back to this video and you can find it, okay? All right, now we're about to tighten down the oil cooler. And like I told you, you gotta go in a sequence. You just can't tighten it down, okay? So first, the torque specification for these bolts for the oil cooler is 9 foot-pounds. All right, 9 foot-pounds. First, you're gonna go to this one right here. You tighten that one. All right. Then the second one gonna be right here. You tighten this one right here. Number 3, you come back up here. This one here is number 4. And then number 5 is this one up here. This one right here. You have to tighten them in sequence, because if you don't, you could have it sitting catty corner, and you have to do them in that order to tighten them. Like I said, it's 9 foot-pounds on the torque, and now we're gonna put the upper intake. But before you do that, you see around here, clean that off pretty good with some brake part cleaner and a rag. If you can't get it off, just get a little, I'm not telling you get a razor blade, because I don't want you to scratch the head up. The Scotch-Brite Brillo pads is the best thing to clean it with. I'm about to clean mine. The old cooler is in. Now we're gonna replace all of these seals in the bottom intake. So let me show you. This is the bottom intake. If you flip it up, you see all that dust come out. You got seals at the bottom also. You get your little pick, and you just go around and you take them out. See that? You dig down in there and you pull them out. That's 1, 2, they're bad.
That's another reason.
3, you get the idea. This is at the bottom. We're gonna do the same thing on this side. We're about to put the bottom intake back in. Like I told you earlier, as you can see, the heads has been cleaned. See that? Just some brake part cleaner and a rag. So now we're about to put the lower intake back in the car. You should already have changed all your seals. It's 12 of them, 6 up top and 6 at the bottom. All right, let's get it in the car. Let's grab it. Just line it up. Make sure all those seals are still at the bottom, seated. And just seat the heads where they need to be seated at. All right, right there. And like I told you, these is 8mm. They also got a star male inside, but I'm not using that. I'm just using a regular 8mm. So let's go ahead and tighten those bolts. Tighten these bolts by hand for right now. You gotta put this over these holes. While you're tightening up and you're bringing it, you don't want nothing to fall in it. So just cover it up for now. That's the passenger side, and this the driver's side. If you gotta take a picture of it, take a picture of it, but that's your torque. That's how you gotta go in tightening those bolts. That's the sequence. And the torque specification for that is 71 inch-pounds. All right, so we're about to tighten these bolts in that sequence. This one is number 1. Go ahead and torque it. Like I told you earlier, 71 inch-pounds. All right, that's number 1. Number 2 is the one back here, the last one to the back, right here. That's number 2. Number 3 is on the passenger side. This one right here. And number 4 is the next one right here, the last one right here on this side, the passenger side on the back. Number 5 is back over here on the driver's side, this one. Number 6 is right next to it. Number 7 is this one right here. And number 8 is the one in the front. That is the sequence of tightening up these bolts. All right, so that's it. The bottom intake is in. Now we're about to plug up all these connectors that was disconnected from the injectors on both sides of the engine. All right, and the coils. We're about to plug those back in. And don't forget, when you plug them in, you see that red? You got to push that down to lock it in when you plug them in. Don't forget that. So go ahead and plug yours in. Plug the second one in. Then go sideways. And then push that red down. When you plug them in, then you push this that way to lock them in. Down. And also, remember we pull these out of these little holes. Go ahead and stick them back in there and put them back in. Those rivets. And I also plug the coils back in. All 3 of them on the passenger side, the driver's side. And listen for that click. The driver's side is done. We're on the passenger side. We're still plugging in those injectors. And lock it in. Lock it in when you put it in. Otherwise, you'll be driving and you want to know why your car shut off. Your injector plug done came out, or your coil plugs. Plug them in and listen for that click. All right, that's it. The injectors are hooked back up, and don't forget to put these rivets back in their little holes. Right here. They all got holes to go in. Right there. All right, don't that look good? She looking sexy already. Don't forget, you unplug some stuff in the back. Over here. This cable, go back in here. And push these rivets back in so this harness won't move. And also, don't forget this PCB, it goes here. And this goes to the upper intake. We're not gonna put that in right now. We're gonna put that in where we put the top intake in. Okay, this is the top intake. You see those numbers that I got? Those are the sequence for tightening those bolts. Those are the sequence. Take this back off. Now we can take this off. And the intake, I'm just gonna show you. Those 2 bolts goes in those holes first. Just like that. And then it sits right there. Otherwise, you're not gonna get it in. So you remember you got 2 bolts that came off of these. Put it back in. I got another video on the removal. This is the installation process. I'm reinstalling in this video the oil cooler, the lower intake, and the upper intake. That's what I'm installing. It's an installation video. All right, y'all. We're gonna tighten these bolts in the sequence that you're supposed to go in. The last bolt in the back right here is number 1. right back here. That's number one. The next bolt, number two, is on this side. This one right here. It's a little hole. You just put that in there. This one. That's number two. Number three is this one right here. You see it going down? That's number three. Number four is this one right here. Right there, number four. Number five is this one right here. Right behind the throttle body. And number six is this one right here. Number seven, the last one, is this one. That's the sequence that you have to tighten these in. And the torque for those bolts is 89 inch-pounds. That's 89 inch-pounds. All right? So you should have the upper intake already tightened and torqued. So get your bracket and you put your bracket back where it was, right here. And right here. Since we don't have the bottom bolt, we don't have to worry about it, but if you did, you know where yours came off, you put it back in. All right, so you got that bracket back in and start that bolt. Like I told you in the previous video of the removal, we only had one nut on this bracket. We only had one, so go ahead and tighten that. If you have three, go ahead and put the other one here and put the other one back at the bottom. But I don't have that. Now we could go ahead and plug these lines back in. This one here goes to the intake, to your PCV valve, and this one goes on top of your throttle body. And then you have another hose right here that goes on the side of the throttle body right here. Push all those lines in, and then this clip goes on top of that. Okay, now what we're about to do is we're about to plug all these lines back in. This one goes up top and plug in up here. This one goes to the throttle body and plugs in right here. And also hit this lock pin. Then we got one more that's gonna go in the breather when you put the breather back here. On the driver's side, don't forget those 2 tins that we put in over here. We gotta also tighten those back up. So get your ratchet and tighten those 2 back in on the upper intake on the driver's side. Tighten them by hand until they stop, and then you come back with your ratchet and you tighten that up. The top intake is now in. Also, do not forget, we got a hose right here that goes on this side, on the back of the intake. This goes on the intake. Then this side will go back on the breather. But we're gonna put this back here on the intake side for now. I will show you in the video where that line is going back to. If you look real good, right here, right there, that's where you put the line, right there. It goes back to the intake, and it runs here, and it's gonna go back to right down here, and it's gonna go to your breather, okay? Look at that. Don't she look sexy? Man, she fine. Okay, we're about to put the antifreeze back into this car, and that's the antifreeze right here that you use. 50-50. It's already mixed. Don't add no water to it. All right. But before you do that, if you look right here by your thermostat, it's a bleeder screw. Unscrew that a little bit, enough to where when you put antifreeze in this bottle, when it's filled up, it will start leaking out this bleeder hose. What you do when it start leaking out, just tighten it back. All right, so we're about to put the antifreeze in this vehicle so that we could crank it up and make sure there ain't no leaks. And the reason why I'm doing that before I put the breather on, because you can get to that bolt easier. All right, so let's put this antifreeze in. And then what you're gonna do, you're gonna see bubbles coming out of it because it's air in the system right now. So sometimes you might see a little bit of bubble. It's not ready yet. As you know, if you look at the intake, you see these, it's got some grooves, push-ins. It's some grooves in the filter side. You push them in before you put the other side in. And get this out the way for now. So you put those in and then you put it down. And go ahead and connect this hose back. The breather hose. Connect that back. Also, put that back up on the throttle body. But you remember, I told you it's a piece right here. I can't find the hole. I need some here. Hold up. And then you push it over it. All right? It's in. Just make sure yours is all the way in when you do yours, all right? But you got to make sure you get this over that shaft right there. If you don't get it in, it's going to be flapping. And then you get it up on that throttle body right here. Okay? So when you put that up, tighten that bolt. And this connector right here goes right here at the bottom. Plug that in. That screw that I told you to break down here, it should be bleeding out right now. Check it out. And if it is, close it with your screwdriver. It should be bleeding out. And go ahead and top off your antifreeze. If it's low, you fill it up to the spot that it needs to be filled up to. It's a line on the bottom. This video is almost over. We're going to crank the vehicle and we're going to see where it stands and see if we got any leaks. Also, don't forget to make up your breather bolts. We're about to put the engine cover back on. No. You got guides right. You see these? These four? Right here. That's the guides for your, you gotta look for these. Make sure that they're in here. Right? Like these. That's what pushes onto those. Alright, so we're about to put the engine cover back in. Like you see this one stuck here. You gotta pick it up and put it back in here. Now we can put it on. Find the hole. And just put it down. Everything is back together. So you just replace your oil cooler in a 2011 Dodge Challenger. I'll see you in the next video, man. Hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, share. Till the next one.